design for Starboard, but we're going to show you what's new on the 2009 iSonics. The iSonics are basically boards that are designed around what we call maximum efficiency principles. If you have a board that is as efficient as possible, you'll have a board that is automatically as fast as it can go. The iSonics have a lot of design details that go into it. Details that have evolved over years and years of research, as well as a lot of hydrodynamic theory coming in from the designers. When you have a square nose, basically what you are doing is you're making the board effectively longer on average compared to a pointy nose, but without actually making the board physically longer itself. What happens then is that you have a board which is on average longer, and therefore what you can do is you can lower the rocker line of the nose a couple of degrees. By lowering the rocker line in the nose, what you have is basically a nose section which has a much lower angle of attack on the water. And that means is that as the wind is flowing over the nose of the board, you're having a lot less drag, a lot less lift. So the board is a lot more controllable and produces a lot less drag from the nose area. Not only is it a lot more efficient in terms of aerodynamics, but also in terms of hydrodynamics, because when you have a lower rocker line, what happens is that as your board is flying over a piece of chalk, let's say it's hitting the section which is just in front of the mast track, what you have is basically an angle of attack which is again a lot lower compared to a board which has a lot more nose scoop. And what happens is that as the water is hitting the bottom of the board, instead of pushing the board backwards as it would with a rocker line which is very steep, it tends to push the board just a little bit up. So this square nose allows us to lower the rocker line in the nose, which again allows us to increase efficiency aerodynamically as well as hydrodynamically. And then as you move towards the tail of the board, now the tail of the board is always in the water, so here we're talking only about hydrodynamics, and the idea is to come up with a planing surface which is as efficient as it can be. So one of the key things about the iSonics is that the width of the tail is actually quite wide compared to conventional boards. And making this tail wide, there's several things. On one hand, it makes the efficiency of the planing surface a lot better. A wider planing surface is a lot more efficient than a long and narrow one. You can look at the wings of a glider, for example, or the aspect ratio of your fin. It's always very deep and very narrow. And it comes to the same principle when you're designing a planing surface. Another thing about wide tails is that it gives you a lot of power. It gives you power to go upwind, it gives you power to accelerate, to get planing quicker, which gives them the ability to get a good position off the start line. It allows you to always put yourself in a good overtaking position, whether you're up to windward or down to leeward. The ability to have a lot of power reserve in the tail of the board in racing conditions, or even when you're just drag racing, it's always a really good advantage to have. Then as you move towards the very back of the board, you'll notice that we have these side cuts and little wingers. And these side cuts and wingers are designed to produce extra release on the board and to reduce the amount of drag you have in the trail area of the board. You'll notice that for the 2009 models, we have this new feature called the double winger concept. And together with the winger and the tails and the side cuts, it all comes together following that theory of maximizing the width of the board up front and then reducing the area of the tail to be able to reduce the drag as much as possible. Further developments on the iSonics for 2009 are the thinner noses and the deck concave, which makes it overall board thinner. The purpose of this was to do two things. One was to lower the center of gravity a couple of millimeters, and this enhances the control and the feeling of like a razor sharp feeling when you're riding the boards. The lower the center of gravity, the better. And the purpose of thinning down the nose was also to shift the center of gravity further back a few centimeters. What happens then is that you have a board which is trimming itself a lot more naturally, with the board feeling a lot closer and a lot more under control compared to a board that was, say, very flat in the nose. So those three new design details pretty much sum up the 2009 iSonic boards. You have the deck concave, the thinner nose, and you have the new double winger concept. All this based on the maximum efficiency principle.